everyone, and welcome to Wednesday's Talking Reds. My name is Mo Stewart. Alongside me today is Josh Sexton. Welcome, Josh.
Welcome.
Now, for those of you who don't know, Rob Gutman is currently trying to play Monopoly with half of Lark Lane, so he's going to build his busy empire. So, Josh, you're a more than able deputy, I believe. It's been a while since we've done a show together.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I'm usually the sort of replacement for you on these because I think a few of your sort of illness and things over the winter have ruled you out of contention. So I'm sort of used to hosting Talking Reds, but I'm back in the guest chair today.
Well,
so.
yeah, you can have a more relaxed time for it today. You haven't got to think about everything. That's my job. But we have been thinking about everything because obviously right now Liverpool are really good. So you think doing this kind of show, doing all of our shows is going to be really easy. But we still want to put the work in, just like those lads. We want to make that attention to detail that I know you love. So we could talk about the Wolves game tomorrow, but we'll leave that for tomorrow's lads. We could talk about Xherdan Shaqiri, but we're going to have another transfer show in which we'll be talking about that. So what are we going to talk about, I hear you ask? Well, some of our lads have been doing some talking themselves, and we're going to talk about that. Now, originally we were going to talk about Joe Gomez. You all know how much I love to talk about Joe Gomez. But Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain has done an interview this morning, which I find really interesting. He's talking about the mentality of the squad and what it takes to be able to go again and again and again. And there's a quote here that I'm going to read out because it's quite long, but I really wanted to talk to you about it, Josh, because it was really illuminating to me. The way he talks about, when I looked at last season, how it finished, we didn't win the league, 97 points. He says, yeah, you've got to give credit to Manchester City, but 97 points and you've got the disappointment. That's what's made you hungry. Now, I love that. I love the fact that in some instances, to get so close and to not be close enough would kind of dispirit the team. But the way that these lads are wired, it's almost like that was exactly what they needed to go on and be this good again.
Yeah, and I think we were sort of saying that at the end of last season, weren't we, about this sort of being the base to build on. And I think you don't have to look far for examples of Liverpool teams who've got sort of just towards that peak, fell just short, and then it's sort of all unravelled from there. You've seen it recently with Tottenham as well, obviously under Pochettino. So I think it says a lot about the mentality of this side, as Chamberlain refers to there, that they could use last season's disappointment and sort of channel it in the right way and show that hunger again this season. And I think that's why you're seeing them not get ahead of themselves now, is because they know they've tasted that disappointment. And obviously if you start doubling down on oh yeah, we're going to win, and then the disappointment does come, then you're going to look a little bit more foolish, but also it's going to hurt that bit more. So I think they're sort of keen for that hurt not to come, but also inside they're going to be celebrating lots of it.
And again, when you think back to the last season and the run-in and how tight it was and how some of the nerves played into it, not only in the crowd, but people were saying that the team were nervous. Now they're in a situation where they don't have to worry about any of those things. And another quote that he's put in here that I really liked is, winning trophies and winning matches is the same thing. Now, if you don't hear that and think, wow, this is exactly the kind of team that we need, that tells you that maybe if we get to next season and have won the championship by a long way, perhaps, maybe we've broken all the records that people are talking about. Hunger and desire, you might think, would be an issue again next year, having climbed that mountain. But by the sounds of that, I don't think it will be.
Yeah, I think it's just a case of winning breeds winning, isn't it? And I remember sort of having these conversations so often down the years when we're, even in the sort of early days under Klopp, when we're thinking about pushing for the title, but it's still not that sort of realistic proposition. And we're sort of thinking maybe we need a League Cup win to spark that series of events. But I think you've seen it now with winning the Champions League, but also just sort of establishing that winning mentality, which they did last season, of winning those Champions League games, which they had to, but also getting to 97 points in the Premier League. It's obviously, it doesn't lead to the trophy, but being able to win that many games over the course of a season would, as we know, in most other seasons, win you that trophy. So I think it is all just about establishing that base, and we're seeing them build on that this season, and that's just massively exciting, isn't it?
It is really exciting, and like you say, the idea of the fact that they were able to do both in the Champions League and in the Premier League, because if you think back to the season before, the run to the Kiev final kind of killed our Champions League, our league form, if you think about it, because we ended up going from chance of second to ended up finishing fourth and only just fourth. Whereas the season after, we were able to build on that. And then this season, I mean, there's the prospect of a double in the offing for these lads, which would make them immortal.
You're being pessimistic there, Mo. There's the opportunity to be a
There is
treble
an
for these lads.
Well, I mean, technically, it will be a quintuple if you include the two that we've already won. But you know what I'm talking about. The two biggest trophies that are on offer, we could have them.
I suppose what you mean is that it's going to be Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott and them boys who win the FA Cup for us. But no, it's exciting, isn't it? And you almost don't want to over talk about it just in case it sort of doesn't happen. But I'm not actually a big believer in that really. I'm sort of the sort of person who will just celebrate everything that's coming to this Liverpool side and look, you celebrate each game as if it's a win, and if you win enough at the end of the season, then you win the trophy. But I think this Liverpool side has got what it takes to be able to compete on all three of those fronts. As you've seen from the younger lads this season, they've been able to step up in those games. I think it can get to a stage where probably later in the season we may have to switch a tiny bit of focus to the Champions League, and I don't know whether that then gets rid of our unbeaten run, if you want to be talking about that. But look, I think this Liverpool side have got what it takes to go all the way in all those competitions.
And these are really good problems to have, obviously.
Yeah.
Now, we can talk about it, we can celebrate it. The team themselves are steadfastly not doing it. They are just concentrating on whatever is next in front of their eyes. And I love that. I love the fact that you can see every single media outlet trying so hard to get one person to slip up and just say something a little bit too far, and the shutters keep coming down. These lads are only focused on winning the next football match, and I think that's exactly what's helping them win the next football match. So long may that continue. Now, there was some football matches in the Premier League that happened last night that we want to kind of touch on because, I mean, it's funny. But first of all, something Liverpool-centric. Bournemouth managed to get a win, and Harry Wilson got himself back on the score sheet after a long drought. Now, I've been a little bit worried about him these last couple of weeks while Bournemouth have been on the slide. Obviously, he might be involved in relegation. He's not going to stay there, potentially. But it could start to affect his mental state. I mean, how he feels going through that when you're in a team and it doesn't look like there's anything coming for you anywhere. So to be able to get himself another goal, maybe we'll be able to boost his confidence a bit so he can start thinking about his own career rather than just the nature of being in a failing team at the moment. I
think you can flip that both ways though, because you can say that look, being part of a team which is struggling, and look, Bournemouth still have a certain style of football. It's not like he's playing for a team who's struggling and they're parking 11 men behind the ball and he's playing up front by himself and getting it hoofed up to him or something. He's still getting experience, which I think will be valuable for him in a Liverpool shirt, or just valuable for him in his career. So I'm not necessarily worried about him in that sort of sense. The way in which I am worried about him is just whether Liverpool see him now as being more of an asset to them, rather as in an asset in terms of being able to sell on, rather than an asset in terms of actually playing first team football.
Yeah, I think that's the impression that a lot of people seem to have got over the course of this season. And obviously, we're not going to talk about Shaqiri, but it's kind of linked into this idea, the fact that the squad, you can already see the next evolution of the squad taking place, and it does look like it probably will be without Harry. But he's hoping that he gets himself a few more goals and gets us a few more million quid. Yeah. Now, some of the other games, there were a lot of late goals last night. Aston Villa got themselves a late win. But we need to talk about Newcastle, Everton, really, don't we? Genuinely, I just want to say up front, genuinely, I was pleased with Moise Kean scoring his goal. If you saw the way he celebrated, it looked like he really needed that. And I was like, fair play to the lads. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, he's playing very, very well. He's doing the kind of things that people thought that I didn't think he was capable of. So fair play to him for that. But 93 minutes into a game, at home, 2-0 up, and they didn't win. What happened?
It's just incredible, isn't it? And I was I only really noticed it after the game had finished. So I think one of my friends texted me saying, I think Everton are about to lose. And I was like, I'm sure they're not. They were 2-0 up. You must just be watching it thinking like, maybe they're just going to do a big slip up. But no, I went on Twitter after and just seeing all the quotes from Ancelotti and things, seeing him talking about Istanbul and how much that hurt, and telling his players that that's some of the sadness that you get in football is just incredible, because I can just imagine all these Blues that have gone to the game, they're already tearing the hair out of the result, and then they go home and see the manager talking about Istanbul. It's absolutely unreal. So they just can't catch a break, can they? But it's marvellous.
Oh, I mean, I do genuinely have a bit of fondness for Carlo Ancelotti, but it does amuse me the fact that he's still not let it go. like 15 years later, he still hasn't let it go. Florian Lejeune, he was the Newcastle hero, never scored for them before, managed to score 2 goals. And there was another classic from our good friend Mr. P-Rex, in as much as he
really like that P-Rex.
he tries to save the equalising goal, but unfortunately for him, he's already standing in the goal by the time he's trying to save it. So technically, it's kind of futile. Now, anyone who saw the Man City game between Sheffield United last night, obviously they won, yada, yada, yada. There was a fantastic performance from Dean Henderson. How is he not England's number one?
I was thinking Nick Pope, to be honest, after his performance against Leicester today. But look, yeah, Jordan Pickford he's just become a meme now, hasn't he? Look, I remember being in the Kop at Anfield for the FA Cup game, and when he stood there in the box by himself, and there's some play going elsewhere, which doesn't really matter. The whole Kop's just singing to him. He couldn't touch the crossbar, and there's loads of people saying he needs to just go and just jump and touch the crossbar and just get this over with. And I was just thinking, no, because it will just get worse from there. The meme will just become worse and worse. And obviously, I don't know if you've seen before the game that Everton, when they published their lineup, they did it of all the drawings of little kids.
I genuinely thought that was fantastic.
Which was great, but when I first saw that, I was thinking, this is going to come back to bite them, I think. And then I seen the meme after of the Jordan Pickford drawing in the goal with the ball. It's absolutely unreal, and you just can't help but laugh at Everton. They just give you so many more reasons to laugh at them.
Even when they're doing good things, they're doing bad things. It's fantastic. Now, someone else who's always been really meme-worthy that I felt like we had to mention, Sideshow Bob himself, David Luiz, first game back at Stamford Bridge as an Arsenal player, and yeah, didn't go well. Managed to get himself sent off, give away a penalty. They still managed to get out of it with a point though. So it's one of those situations where I don't think either team will really be that happy with how the game went. But I mean, David Luiz has now been sent off for Arsenal against Chelsea and for Chelsea against Arsenal. Like, that's never going to be repeated, surely.
He's just the maddest player ever, isn't he? And I sort of had mixed emotions in a way about that game last night. Obviously, I wanted to sort of laugh at David Luiz. Didn't really care about the result or either team because they're completely irrelevant to us now, which is a nice feeling. But also quite a minute for Hector Bellerin, seeing him get a goal, because I think, you know, he seems like a decent enough lad. He's been out injured for a while, and it was sort of nice to see him curling one in his left foot. And I enjoyed his little post-match antics with Granit Xhaka after as well. But yeah, David Luiz, he honestly is just the maddest footballer ever. And I sort of thought as soon as seeing that he'd been sent off, I was thinking about him after was it Chelsea won the league and he's singing the blue as the colour to all the fans, and I was just thinking about him probably storming off, being like, I fucking hate these Chelsea pricks.
Well, they were singing his name after. They were singing David Luiz as one of our own, which, I mean, I'm not going to give Chelsea fans props very often, but that one was pretty funny. So yeah, as you say, these guys are irrelevant to us, and that in itself is quite a fun thing to be able to do, to be able to watch it with like a detached amusement, let's say. But you are right, Hector Bellerin is good people, so I'm glad that he managed to get a goal. And Kepa, clearly not Alisson.
No.
Okay, so we want to tell you a little bit more about what's going on in the world of the Anfield Wrap. As I mentioned before, we are recording a transfer show later today where we will be diving straight into the whole Shaqiri business. We'll also be talking about Timo Werner and the wider plans for Liverpool this summer. Now, it's been bandied around that we're going to be going big this summer after a couple of years where it's been here and there. 170 million pounds is the total that's been floated, the war chest, as they love to call it, even though no one knows what the hell a war chest is. Timo Werner, obviously, he's got a release clause around 55, so there's still potentially another 120 million knocking around there that's going to go on players. Now, if you were Michael Edwards, and I mean, you might have to grow a few inches, what would you be looking to spend it on?
It's tough to say, really. I've been asked by BBC Sport to get involved in their transfer deadline day coverage, which is obviously very nice. And they make you send in a few paragraphs before about what you think your team needs throughout the transfer window and stuff like this. Obviously for January rather than the summer, but it's sort of hard to put your finger on what needs strengthening for Liverpool right now. You can look at the fullback areas and say they were potentially a bit light in terms of cover there, but then I've got lads like Nico Williams and Yasser Larouci who are coming through, who I've got quite high hopes for, to be honest, and the performances they've put in already have been you know of a good standard when they've had to step up. So I think I'd rather that they didn't have their opportunities lessened, and I think that's the sort of almost the catch-22 for, you know, the likes of Michael Edwards and Jurgen Klopp now is being able to balance that time of you know, being able to give youngsters time on the pitch, but also being able to chase down every trophy, and you know, maybe this season will show that we've got that balance already and we don't need to.
Well, here's hoping so, and I think it's another victory for Klopp in as much as when you think back to the summer, everyone was desperate to say we are short, we do need cover here and there. Klopp was adamant that we had enough, and he had enough solutions within the squad to solve everything. So far, touch wood, he's turned out to be right. And not only that, but the opportunity he's been able to give some of those young players has accelerated their development to the point where when we get to the end of the next season, like you say, it won't be a case of, okay, we've held out for now we need to buy someone. It could be, well, we've held out for now, and now these kids are ready. And that's a really fantastic place to be in.
Yeah.
It saves us a bit of money.
I think that the one thing I'm sort of looking at if Liverpool are building up this war chest, because I think of seasons past where that war chest thing comes up and you almost get excited about, who can we spend that money on, and I'm almost of the view now that you maybe just save it until, maybe not necessarily until a player leaves, but that obviously all happens sort of internally in terms of, if a player goes to Klopp and says, I'll be looking to leave in the summer, then they'll start the sort of wheels in motion for that. But I remember a point early in the season where there was sort of speculation around Salah leaving and how maybe Jadon Sancho would come in to replace him, but that all seems to have died down now, and I think Mo Salah's, he looks much happier. I don't know if he was ever sort of unhappy, but I don't really see a scenario in which he leaves Liverpool now, whereas probably earlier in the season I maybe got suckered into that sort of mindset. So I think as long as everyone's happy sticking around, then to be honest, I'm happy with everything the way it is.
Yeah, me too. And I was discussing this with Neil a couple of days ago. It's harder to think about the next evolution of this team because that often involves letting some of these guys go. And I love them all so much. Yeah. I don't want to lose any of them, so it's tough. We should probably give you another shout out for our Ireland trip that's happening very, very soon. All dates, details and tickets are going to be available on our website. The address is
theanfieldwrap.com/tour live. I'm going to Ireland as well, so it's
oh, you're going.
Another reason to be excited, obviously.
So who is the full cast list for those of you who don't know? Because it's you. I know you're going.
Yeah.
Rob Gutman's going.
Rob Gutman's going. Paul Cope's going. Neil's going. Gareth Roberts is going, and there will be a few more than that, I think. Although I think they might be TBC, so more reason to be excited.
So there you go. All of you out there in Ireland, you've got all of that lot to look forward to. The Anfield Wrap invasion, which if past times have gone by, it's going to be pretty wild. So yeah, make sure you get yourself a ticket for that. But yeah, nice show. We've wrapped it all up quite quickly, I think, this time. The Reds are doing so well, it's making our job really, really easy. Thanks, Josh.